Hi guys, today we're going to be making this little heart here. And you can use it for whatever you would like to use it for. You can see I did some earrings, and this is actually a hair clip here. I just wanted to show you could put some beads in the center. This is actually not glued on, so I can take that off, and it's a hair clip. So I just wanted to show a couple of different ideas of what you could do with these little hearts, but feel free to make it into whatever you would like to make it into. So I do show two ways to make this heart in the video. On this one, I used a magic ring to make the heart, and on this one, I actually chained and then slip stitched to form a ring and then did my stitches into that ring. So I do show myself making both of these hearts, and you can choose whichever way you would like, whichever way you think looks a little bit better. I do recommend at least trying the magic ring. I find the heart ends up looking just a little bit cleaner, but I do think they both look great, and I show how to do a magic ring slowly in the video. So I know some people aren't as familiar with how to do that, especially if you're a beginner. So again, feel free to do both, but you could also give that magic ring a try. Other than that, we'll get into the materials that I used in the video. So I used a 3-weight or a DK yarn. I'm not exactly sure what this yarn is. I got a pack way back when that had just kind of a bunch of different colors in it, and I don't have the labels anymore, but I believe it's just a cotton mix. It's definitely a 3-weight yarn, and I believe it's just kind of a cotton mix. But if you want yours to be the same size, any 3-weight yarn will work in whatever color you would like. And I also used this 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. You do not need to use this size of hook. You also do not need to use this weight of yarn. You could use a bigger hook and a larger yarn, and you could end up with a bigger heart, or a smaller hook and a smaller yarn, and you'd end up with a smaller heart. So whatever you would like to do would work completely fine. On top of that, the other materials you will need is a yarn needle to not only sew in your ends, but if you want to make the earrings, just make sure you have a needle that is small enough to fit up and through those beads. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, and on top of that, it's just any extra embellishments that you would like to use. So if you want to do earrings, some of these fish hook earrings, which I just got from Michael's, some beads as well. These are beads. And I also got those from Michael's. And then if you wanted to do a hair clip, I just have this pack of hair clips. And then if you want to do the hair clip, some glue, so you could use a glue gun or whatever kind of glue that you have. I just use this Gorilla fabric glue, which I thought worked great. So it just kind of depends on whatever you would like to make. And I do give instructions at the end how I made these into earrings, and also how I did it into a hair clip. And that is everything. I'll just take a moment to ask if you wouldn't mind liking this video if you found it helpful, and also subscribing and turning your notifications on so you don't miss any of my videos. It would be greatly appreciated. But with that, we'll get into the tutorial for this little heart. All right, like I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to first make the heart by chaining, and then I will go on to making the heart by starting with a magic ring. So I'm going to start with a slip knot on my hook, and I'm going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to slip stitch to that first chain I made. So I'll put my hook into that first chain, yarn over and pull that yarn both through that first chain and through the loop on your hook. And what that did is create a little ring that we're going to work our stitches into. And sometimes you have to kind of pull it apart to be able to see it, but the more stitches you build up, the more obvious that opening will be. So I'm going to chain one. That chain one does not count as a stitch, and I'm going to start by single crocheting right into the center there. So one single crochet. And then I'm going to do 3 triple crochets. So to triple crochet, I yarn over 2 times, go right back into that same space we just worked our single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops on your hook, and yarn over and pull through those final 2 loops on your hook. And that was a triple crochet, and we want 3 of those. So that was the first. We'll do our second, and our third. And at this point, we want to do 4 double crochets in a row. So to double crochet, we yarn over, again, working in that space, and I'm kind of working around this tail, so it's wrapped around that opening, and I'm going to be working around it. But to do a double crochet, we yarn over, go back into that opening, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through those final 2 loops. And we want 4 in a row. So that was the first. This is the second, third, and fourth. And after doing that 4th double crochet, I'm going to chain 2. So 1, 2, and I'm going to slip stitch back into that first chain I just made of the 2. Just slip stitching right into it. And at this point, we're going to do, I guess, the opposite of what we just did over on this side, because we're working on the other side of the heart. So again, still working in that same opening, we're going to do our 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And feel free to kind of push over the stitches if you start running out of room. If you just push them over there, it'll open up more space for you to work those stitches. And we're going to do our 3 triple crochets. 1, 2, oops, I think I just did a double, but I got to get a little more yarn anyways. So unravel a little bit more. There we go. So that was the first one. 2, and the final triple crochet, and we're going to finish the main part of the heart here by single crocheting into the center there. And then we want to slip stitch into that same space. And at this point, everything is super snug, but everything fit in there, and you can see the heart taking shape. And if you pull on that tail, if you pull on it super tight, That will help close up that center opening a little bit more. And don't worry if it's still quite open there, because after we're all fastened off, we're going to use these tails in the back and sew it around the opening there, and that will help close up that opening, but I will show you that in just a moment. So at this point, I'm actually going to fasten off, and to fasten off, I chain one, I cut my yarn and pull that yarn through and pull tight. And that is the first heart complete. And I will go ahead and sew in these tails in the back in just a moment, but I will quickly show you how I do a magic ring. So I'll get some more yarn. And to do a magic ring, I'm going to take the end of the yarn and hold it between my thumb and my pointer finger. And I'm going to wrap this yarn all the way around my pointer finger and my middle finger, and just loosely, I'm not holding too much tension here, I'm just kind of loosely wrapping it. And when I bring it back around, I want to form an X on top of those two fingers. And then I'm going to hold this yarn down over here with my ring finger. And then I'm going to bring in my hook and I'm going to turn it upside down so the hook portion there is facing down. And I'm going to put it underneath right here. And then I'm going to go up and over top of this part of the yarn on that side of the X. And then I'm going to pull this yarn over here underneath the part of the yarn that's on top of my hook. And while I do that, I'm going to twist my hook. So I'm going to start pulling it underneath, and while I'm pulling it up, I'm twisting my hook. And what that did was form a loop on my hook. And then I'm going to chain one by grabbing this yarn over here and chaining one. There we go. And if you take that part off of your fingers, you've just made a magic ring. And that's what we're going to work all of our stitches into. So it's the same stitches as we just worked with the chain. So it's going to be a single crochet, which is not yarning over, putting your hook right into the center of that ring there, yarn over, and pull the yarn through both of the loops on your hook. That was a single crochet. And then we're going to do our 3 triple crochets. And with a magic ring, if you pull on this tail, it will tighten up that ring. And as I work up more and more stitches, I pull it a little bit more just to close up that opening. And that will make it a little bit easier. So, again, 3 triple crochets. There's 1. Here's 2. Again, just closing it up a little bit more. It's definitely easier for me to use it that way. And here's the final triple on this side. And then we want to do our 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we want to chain 2, 1 and 2, slip stitch back into that first chain. And then again, we're going to do the opposite of what we just did on that side. Again, closing it up just a little bit more. So I'm going to do my 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, And for my 3 triple crochets, 1, whoops, 2, and 3, and I will do my single crochet, and I'll tighten it up quite a bit right now, and I'm just going to slip stitch into that same opening, like so. And once again, I'm going to grab the tail and pull it very, very tight. And you can see, I always think the hearts that you do with a magic ring just are going to look definitely cleaner, just a little bit, a little more rounded and than when I use the chain, but it's definitely an option. You can still see that it looks nice. So I'm going to once again fasten off by chaining 1, cutting my yarn, and pulling that yarn through and pulling tight, like so. And then you can actually tie, I'll show you how I do the back of these now. So you can tie these 2 threads just to make sure nothing comes unraveled. So I will double knot them. They would probably be safe without doing that, but I'll do it just to be safe. Or extra safe, I should say. And then you want to bring in your yarn needle, and I'll get that all attached. And when you're sewing in these tails, make sure you're not looking at the front. This is the front of the work. You can see the front of the stitches. So just turn over your heart. And when you're sewing it in, you want to work this tail around the opening. So just catching, it's going to be, especially if you pulled it super tight like I did, it's going to be a little bit tight, but just going under a couple stitches at a time and pulling that yarn through, and then going through a couple more. Again, just working around that opening. I think the bottom of my needle also has a little bit of glue on it, which is not helping. There we go. And again, a couple more stitches. And after each time I go through a couple stitches, you could go through a couple more than I am. Again, I can tell that there's a little bit of glue at the bottom of my needle, so it's getting a little bit stuck. But if you just give it a little tug, it will help close up that center. And once I'm done with this one and do the other one and give that one a tug as you go, it will close up that center opening very nicely. So I can cut that one now. And I'll go ahead and do this part off camera. I'm going to bring in my other heart here as well, and I will get the ends on this sewn in. First I will double knot this one just because I haven't done that yet, but I will get those ends sewn into the back of the heart around that center, and I'll get the other one done here. You guys love how not only your heart turned out, but the final project, whatever you used your little hearts for. I hope you love it. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.